folks, Jen or Mergriffin here, and we're going to take a look at the Odie, or the Odysseus iAtty 2 from Imeo in Greece, and sold in the US at cloudsofvapor.com. I have a 2 ohm coil here. Standard IMR 3.7 battery, great flavor, pretty good vapor as you can see. On the first one I built, I got a 3 ohm coil, and I'm running that at 4.5 volts. So let's take a deep dive and see how to put a coil together, how to put an iAtty together, and Odysseus. So this is a close-up of the Odysseus, or the Odie, from Imeo, the Golden Greek maker, and sold at cloudsofvapor.com. What comes with it is some wicking material, some resistance, electrical resistance wire that will carry the load or provide the resistance, and then some wire that does not add resistance to the coil. And business card. So here's the actual iAtty unit itself, or the Odysseus, nicknamed the Odie. And there's a little locking nut on the top here that's basically holding an O-ring in place over that mouthpiece, so that mouthpiece can move independently and there won't be any leaks. And you can see the O-ring in there just around the mouthpiece itself. And then there is the top cap. Now all the parts in the iAtty 1 were proprietary. Oops, I got the mouthpiece too. Didn't mean to do that, but it happens sometimes. On this piece, that top cap and the nut are the same pieces that are in the UFS 2, I believe. So that some of the parts for this Odysseus and future UFSs are going to be the same. We'll talk about that towards the end, about other configurations that are going to be available for this. This is the mouthpiece then, which also will provide your juice flow control. Now we'll take off the outer tank piece. And inside you see the grounding nut. That's this knurled piece here. I'm going to go ahead and take the grounding nut off. Now we're down to our last 2 pieces, which is the ceramic cup and the portion that will provide the positive post to the 510 connector, and the base, which also provides the ground part of that 510 connector. So here you see the base. I washed it, so that's just a little bit of water. It is recommended that you wash them when you get them, and then that's the grounding outside of the connector and the threads. It is suggested that you wash them to get any machining residue off of them. Now, this is the ceramic cup with the metal outside for the threads, sealed inside, and then the very bottom part will provide the positive connection, and then this little locking nut will hold the wire down to the positive. And then an O-ring to keep a nice seal from juice, and then the post-its that what will be the post itself on the bottom there. And push that O-ring up tight, and then once you screw that in, it is the positive pin. Now this is the mouthpiece, and the wicking is going to be coming through those 2 slots in the ceramic there. So this mouthpiece also screws up and down on that, which will provide our juice flow. We'll see in a bit. Now we're going to look at this. Let's look at an old iAtty a second. There was the mouthpiece in the top cap, proprietary. And there was this big outer tank. The original iAtty did hold more than this short mode Odysseus, but that will change. The cone that basically allowed how much wicking material went through it. And look at the difference in the ceramic cup. The ceramic cup in the original iAtty was the same ceramic cup out of a CE2. You can see how much bigger and easier to work with the ceramic cup is on the other one. Now the iAtty also had plastic threads, and as you can see there's some wear and tear on mine. The positive connection was from tying the wire to the metal there in the middle and then screwing that piece in and making a seal, and then the same thing around the second plastic piece. But I had some problems with these cross-threading, or the very fact that there was a tiny piece of wire in there cross-threading, and I've had to replace this bottom plastic piece several times. You can see kind of the wear and tear on the threads of just soft plastic screwing into stainless steel or aluminum. It's a little rough on them, especially when you're trying to grind tight a little wire in there, and you can see how difficult that is to screw. So I'm fairly happy with the fact that the Odie is all metal, so there's not those kind of cross-threadings, have to replace those parts. Imeo does recommend that you take off this little O-ring, slab it in Vaseline, and then shove it back on, just so it takes less wear and tear from that tight connection, and it provides a better seal. Was the wire's going to go in there and then plug into the base. All right, let's make a wire. Now, I've done this before on the iAtty video, but let's try it again. We have some wicking material, 2 pieces of non-resistant wire, and a piece of resistance wire. I'm going to take the piece of resistance wire, 1 piece of non-resistant wire, put them together, kind of even them up, get about 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1 centimeter at the end there, make a V out of them, kind of spread them apart, and then start twisting them around each other like a bread tie. And you got to kind of pinch down with your fingers tight, otherwise you're just going to turn the wires out the back end. Twist them around. Now I'm going to kind of separate them out. Now the resistance wire is in my right hand, it's the thinner material. So what I'm going to do is kind of bend the non-resisted over so it makes a little loop. And then you can see the part where we twisted the 2 wires together. And I'm going to wrap the other end of the non-resistance wire around those 2 and then pull it. So basically what I have is the resistance wire now has a non-resistant kind of end piece. So we're basically going to extend it on both sides with non-resistant wire and then have the resistance wire in the middle. Takes a minute. About 1.5 inches of resistance wire, about 2 to 3 inches of non-resistant wire. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side with the other piece of non-resisted wire. The non-resisted wire is usually nickel or silver. The resistance wires are usually nichrome or canthal. I think Imeo sends it with the canthal here. Usually 0.20 millimeters. I'm not much of an electrical engineer, so someone correct me. If you follow the forums on ECF, they discuss other places to get different wires. And again, I'm going to pull the non-resistance wire back over onto the part we wound together and wrap it around. Pull it out straight and then just kind of maybe pinch those little loops where it's holding the non-resistance wire so they're a little flatter. Not just being picky. Squeeze them in there. And then we have it, the resistance wire in between 2 pieces of non-resistance wire. Now you're going to take your wicking material, kind of put the end of, fumble fingers, just where the resistance wire starts. I usually do this with a helping hand and a magnifying glass. So this is a little hard to do for the camera for you guys. I'm just going to wrap it around. The number of coils doesn't seem to matter as much as the length of the resistance wire in getting the resistance ohm of the atomizer that you want. So I don't really pay attention to that. I just wrap it around until I'm done. Maybe make sure that piece is a little tight. You want to make sure they're fairly close together, but not touching. If they're touching, it will short out. So now I'm going to hold where the coils are with my thumb and forefinger. And I'm going to drop it into the ceramic cup. Now, on the positive side, you want the wire to be on the bottom in that outside channel in the ceramic cup. So I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to put that wire underneath on the positive side and the wick on top. And then you just kind of use your fingernail to get that wick in that channel. But what we're really going to do on this side, on the positive side, is take that wire and wrap it around the bottom here and then tighten that nut. That basically secures the positive connection to the post, and then push the O-ring up into its new place. And use your fingernail to tuck that wicking material into that channel up on top of it. I don't have fingernails, so that's not working too well. So let's just stick it in there, get, and then move towards the other side. Now on the other side, we're going to put the wick down into the channel and have the wire on top. So I'm going to again use my fingernail and just shove that wick down into that thing, and then I'm going to put the wire on top. Now the reason here is on the other side, the positive connection is going to the inside to make the connection with that nut. On this side, we want the wire on the outside because now I'm going to get that grounding nut, and the metal of the wire needs to touch that grounding nut to make the grounded or the negative side of the wire connection. And I'm just going to screw that down. And then pull that wire up out of the way. Now at this point we can trim the positive wire that's left out of that little bottom piece there, and you want to trim the wicking material so that it's just to the bottom of those channels. I'm messy. Trim that wire off. Get the other side, not much. Little bits of wicking material everywhere. Blow it off. All right, now I'm going to hold that ground wire up out of the way. I can get a little bit of it off. I won't need that much, but I'm going to keep a little bit in reserve just in case I need to adjust it. Now we're just going to go ahead and screw the entire cup and really the atomizer part into the base. Making sure not to cross thread it, which of course I'm doing. Get those wicks down in there a little tighter and it might screw in easier. Okay, if my big fumble fingers can manage this, anyone can manage this. There we go. Now, the nice thing about this one as opposed to the other iAtty was it depended on the other iAtty how I had the wire wrapped around that bottom piece of plastic where the post would end up coming out. And sometimes I got a post in a place that it didn't work on a certain mod, or it was kind of lopsided and it would sit crooked on top of the mod. That doesn't happen with this. And the other nice thing is once you have it built this far, what you can do is just stick it on a device and make sure that it works. First of all, so let's put it on the Darwin here and give it a little fire. Nice 2 ohms. Yeah, 2 ohms. Bada bing, and it works. 2 ohms. Perfect. Okay, so it works on a Darwin. Usually works in adapters. But how it works on some mods depends on how far down or how far out that positive pin sticks. So I usually have trouble with silver bullets with that. But you can, and we'll see in a sec, move that grounding ring up, screw the ceramic cup in further so that the positive connection sticks out farther and it will work. So I'm going to stick it on my silver bullet here, and 10 to 1 it is not going to fire because that likes a deeper connection. Of course there we go. Yep, not firing. All right. So let's fix it. Well, let's check the ProVary first. And I have to move things around. There we go. Put it on ProVary. Boom. Okay, works on that. So we just need to fix it so it works on the silver bullet. Fairly easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen that grounding nut. I may have to loosen the whole thing a little bit first. But I'm going to loosen that grounding nut a little bit so that it comes up a little higher towards the top, which lets me then screw that whole ceramic cup and assembly further into the base so that I get the positive post to stick a little further out of the grounding threads of the connection. As you can see, it sticks up a little bit now. That's probably perfect. Now I'm going to screw the grounding nut down to the base so it's tight. I'm going to stick it back on the silver bullet, and now that positive post is sticking out a little further, so it should make a better connection on this mod. There we go. Perfect. So as you're building it, once you get to that stage, you just want to make sure that it's going to fire on the mod you want to use it on. And, you know, once you learn where that is for your mods, you sort of don't forget and you'll get it there every time. Still working on that. All right. Let's go ahead and finish putting it together. I know where the nut needs to be now, so I can trim off the final bit of that grounding wire just to be neat. Now I'm gonna, the mouthpiece. Now as you can see, the mouthpiece also screws onto that cup area. But if you'll notice, it will go down flush to that grounding nut, and now there is no access from liquid that would be in that tank to those wicking material. As you unscrew it, it allows access from the liquid to some of that wicking material. That is your juice flow control. You know, when you first start it up, you're going to want that closed, but as you use it from the outside, you can turn the mouthpiece counterclockwise to allow more juice or more wick to be exposed, and clockwise to close it off so less wick is exposed, without having to open the tank and change anything, which is what you had to do with the original iAtty. You had to open the tank, empty it, change the cone to allow different amounts of wicking material to show, and then put it back together. Now I just wet the wick in the cup to start, and I'm going to put the tank on. You want to seal it so that you can't see that O-ring anymore, so you know it's got a nice tight seal. Here we go. Oh, I'm going to put the mouthpiece on. It screws down right over the coil. Now this is the short mode Odysseus. We'll talk more about some of the other modes that will be available in the future in a sec. But in the short mode, it holds 2.5 to 3 mils of liquid. So you just drip it right along the top of that mouthpiece connector there, and then it will kind of fall off of there into the sides and fill the tank. Especially if you hold it at a little bit of an angle, you'll see it kind of dribble down. And you want to fill it to about the top of that whole mouthpiece connector there. And it really is as easy as taking off that top nut and the top piece, squirting another 2 or 3 ml of juice, and then sealing it up again. And we'll go ahead and put the top on. Top cap. A lot of screws, so nice tight seal. Important, that O-ring. You know it's a GG because there's O-rings. Lots of them. And then that nut that really pushes that O-ring into place and makes a tight seal around that mouthpiece so that when you turn it upside down, liquid doesn't come flying out. And there we go. One Odysseus iAtty 2 ready to vape. And then you can grab it by the unit and turn that mouthpiece clockwise or counterclockwise to control your juice flow. And that's it. So that's my look at the iAtty 2 short mode as we've been given it right now. There's going to be, according to Imeo, and he has some videos on this, you can find them on YouTube. This is short mode, which only holds 2.5 to 3 mil. There will be, according to him, a thinner base and less of a tank that lets you, which basically lets you use it as a dripping Addy. There's going to be a way to incorporate the tank and the top piece from a UFS to attach them to this to get it higher and give you a little more capacity in the tank, and then you'll also be able to, of course, see the level of juice that's actually in there. There's also going to be a mode that lets you take the rebuildable coil from this and stick it inside your UFS. There's also going to be a way to use either a regular 510 Addy or the CE2 coil, like we were putting in map tanks originally, and stick that in there too. I'm not sure when all that's going to be available, but as it is right now, it works pretty good. And I like the improvements to the replacing the plastic bits that I was having problems with, the ability to adjust the center post position for your different mods so I can make sure it's going to work on the mod that I want it to work on. And I like the fact that it now incorporates juice control. So instead of, like on the iAtty, if I wanted to get to that cone piece that covered the wick, I had to take the top off, almost take the tank off, get the juice out of it, and then, adjust that. Here I just grab the mouthpiece and turn it clockwise or counterclockwise and let more juice onto the wick. And I like them. Great clean flavor. I wish the tank held a little more, but according to MEO, that's coming, so that will be awesome. A nice little unit, nice upgrade from the functionalities of the other one. It is, I think, the easiest to put together of coils for the other Addies. While you have to put the no resistance wire on yourself instead of it coming kind of made that way like the atomizer does, or not having to use that extra wire like on the Bully A2s, it is much easier for my big fingers and my, you know, magnified eyes to take one piece and wrap it around and screw it tight and then put the ground down and pull it down. It's a little easier to put together. My opinion, your mileage may vary. Anyway, that's the Odysseus or the Odie.